Hey everybody, Elisa Maria here. It is Self-Care Sunday. Hope you had a good Sunday. It's about 6 p.m. right now. John and I had a lazy Sunday. We got up, we made breakfast, we watched movies, and then he's fixing a bird feeder right now. And I decided to do, and I never show you either, what I do on a Sunday, and that is get my pens all cleaned. I take all the placers off. I throw the placers in a glass of hot water. I clean them all out and I get them all, ready to go. They have putty, some have wax, and we're ready to go. So I love that. So, because when I sit down to do what it is that I'm doing, I have all my pens, they're ready, they're filled. I could, choose one, anyone, pick it by placer or whatever, and I'm ready to go. And it's just like one less thing to think about. Self-care for our diamond painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Self-Care Sunday, and I'm going to do the reading, but it's going to be the same video from yesterday's Saturday, because not everybody watches Self-Care Sunday. Not everyone listens to me babble on a Saturday afternoon during just a little chat. And so I thought, I could take the audio out, replace it with Self-Care Sunday. And if you have seen it, either one, then you can watch that one as a podcast, right? Just listen to it while you diamond paint. It just gives me a little bit more time to maybe do, but I guess my thinking was not everybody watches Self-Care Sunday, and then I'm doing a video, and then I do a reading, and I do a video, and then I do a whip and chat, and I do a video. And so it's all this video of one particular painting right now, because I'm sticking to my painting. I'm going to give you another glimpse of Quiet Snow. I've actually turned her around. I'm working the top, and it is just so exciting to see that I am going to get this done probably in the month of November. I'm so proud of myself for sticking to this one canvas and, not worrying about what's in my closet, how many, what do I have open? And maybe if I do get this done and I have one canvas that just needs to be, it's an open whip, then I will do that. And then, I have another reading that's for Rebecca. So there's a lot of time diamond painting, and then I have to go back and edit, and then I have to get it formatted, and then do the overlay when this video is already edited and everything else. But like I said, all the spills and chills of the drills falling will still all be in there. But anyway, okay, I'm going to get to Self-Care Sunday. I will see you Monday. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. I'll see you Monday, and then Tuesday we have a live. And I think that's it. My calendar is opened up. Usually I was oh no, I have to do this I have to do this for, this event and this for that event. But it's, I'm starting to get a little time back, and I'm really excited because, thank you for those of you that are enjoying the reading of Rebecca, and you guys are we want to see the movie, but we don't want to see it until the reading is done. So I'm going to be reading double time, being that my schedule has opened up. Exciting, right? I'm not going to take anything else on, just this reading. So I will see you tomorrow. We'll do a reading. Yeah, we'll do a reading tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye. Enjoy Self-Care Sunday. So I came across something very interesting today on my Facebook page, and my husband had tagged me in an article. It's a Facebook page called Ancient World. And I thought that he meant it for me, but actually he meant it for him. And he was saying that, he sleeps really long hours, which I do not. I don't sleep. And if I go to bed early, then I'm up in the middle of the night, and then I'm doing things, and then I will go back to sleep. And then I have this, monologue in my head that I'm not sleeping enough. This is crazy. It's insomnia. And this is for those of you that, when I'm up sometimes at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm talking to some of you because either you're on a different time frame or you're up also. And I found this so interesting, and it's given me such a sigh of relief that I'm not going to worry about my sleeping anymore. So this is from Ancient World. Once men and women did not sleep as we do now. The notion of 8 hours straight was foreign. In the Middle Ages, the night unfolded in two distinct breaths, the first sleep and the second sleep. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned to dark velvet, people would retire, surrendering to the hush of night. And then after about 4 or 5 hours, their eyes would open. This is me. If I go to bed, like sometimes I just am like 6 p.m. I'm like, I'm going to bed. But then I'm like, oh God, do you know what you're doing to yourself? You're going to wake up at 11, 10:30, 11. I don't really get more than 4.5, 5 hours sleep. So they would wake up also. They would go to bed when the sun went down, and they would get 4 to 5 hours sleep. And now if it's winter and you're on the East Coast like I am, like 4:30 it's dark. And then they would not have any kind of anxiety about this, but for them it was a rhythm. And this pause in the night was just what it was. It was just a pause, like we're going to take like a little siesta, like a long nap. So when they would wake up, like after 4 or 5 hours of sleep, if I went to bed at 4:30 and I woke up at 10:30, they would they would light candles, and they would do like things like pray, or they would maybe leaf through some books, maybe have a little drink. Maybe they went across the street to their neighbors, knocked on the door. They maybe got together in a kitchen. Maybe they were telling stories to their children. And it was just the way that their life moved. It was very unhurried. It was very intimate. And they were just following a natural rhythm. So being that they really, I don't even think that they had clocks, but still being dark out, even if you got up at 10:30 and let's say you went to bed at 2 a.m., it's still dark out. And they would do the same thing. They would return to sleep. And then when dawn or the roosters crowed, that would mark the beginning of their day. That was their clock, and they would get up. And for centuries, this was the rhythm of rest. And we know this because it's been recorded in diaries and stories and even medical manuals. By the 19th century, we had street lamps and factories and urban life. And those middle hours of the night lost their enchantment, and people began to sleep all in one go. By the 20th century, the memory of segmented sleep had faded. What was once a natural rhythm became misunderstood, and we began to call it insomnia. However, back then it was simply the most human way to live in harmony with the night. I love that story, and I wanted to share it with you and see if maybe it resonated with you in any way. Because for me to go to bed early and wake up and have those like magical hours, I call them, like 2, 3, I never really ventured into what at 4 o'clock in the morning. But like, to go into 1, 2, or 3 o'clock in the morning, they were just like magical hours for me while the world slept, to do some writing, or I would do some artwork, and then I would go to sleep. I would go back to bed, and I would wake up in time to go to yoga. I was teaching at the time, so my classes began at 9:30 a.m., but I never really felt off. But I think I used to tell myself, we're going to be teaching yoga, and if it was a slower yoga and I felt a little bit tired, I knew that I would be able to rest because I'm teaching, and I'm also modeling the postures that we're doing. And so I always found that, or if I was going to a yoga class, I'd be like, I'll be able to rest in yin yoga. I'll be able to recharge myself, which is another thing, talking about rest and sleep. I love doing yoga nidra, and yoga nidra for me, and you can find all different times to do yoga nidra, but for me, in the middle of the afternoon, that 3 o'clock slump that we get, I would put yoga nidra on. You can find yoga nidra on YouTube. I like Krista, I think her name is Krista Rose. And then there's also Ali Nova. I like her too. You could find 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 2 hours. This is a wakeful rest. I become so relaxed for 20 minutes where I do a body scan and I feel like I've slept 8 hours. It just unwinds the mind. You feel so relaxed. I feel so, even if I can't go to sleep at night, I will put my earphones in and I will put a yoga nidra on. I don't really like it to go to sleep, but it will always put me to sleep. It will always undoubtedly, like 15 minutes, I'm gonna sleep, and I am getting a really, I must still be listening to it unconsciously, because the rest that I get if I do yoga nidra to go to sleep, oh my God, I wake up the next day and I am just so refreshed and relaxed. So I didn't know that Self-Care Sunday was going to go into a sleep discussion, but when I saw this today, I'm like, we kind of beat ourselves up. And I think all we're really doing is following a natural rhythm. Because if you go, there was something else that I read too, like, primitive days, not everyone slept. Someone was always up watching to make sure that the tribe was safe and they weren't going to be attacked by animals. And I'm sure in the Middle Ages too, someone was up to tend to, fires and stoves and making sure that the home stayed warm. Now we don't have to think about those things. We don't have to think about light and heat, water, and all that other stuff. So someone was always up during those hours, making sure that it was cozy and comfortable for the rest of us, and safe too, a safe sleep. So I am going to now get my Book of Awakening and see what today's reading is about. That ought to be interesting because I don't read ahead. I don't read ahead in Rebecca, and I don't read ahead in my Book of Awakening. Be right back. Well, why am I not shocked? I am not shocked. This is just the way things move in my life. And I think because I take a lot of obstacles out of the way. Yesterday, I did kind of clean house on my own channel. And I kind of went through some videos that I didn't think were relevant any longer. And I let them go. And I changed a few things and the energy just got moving. I found that I picked up a couple of new subscribers and I hit another milestone. I finally, after this past month of just seesawing between 1,991 subscribers and 1,986 subscribers, after I did that clean out, I hit the 2,000 milestone of subscribers, and I really didn't realize it until earlier today, and I was like, oh my gosh, what like it, but it was after I did that clean out of my things that were just not relevant anymore on my channel, and I let them go. And so I'm reading this article that John put on my Facebook page. I thought he meant it for me, but he was saying, oh, I just think I was born at the wrong time, because he sleeps and I don't. The reading for November the 16th in the Book of Awakening, I really should be, it's a little bit surreal, but then again, it's not, because when you start to, I think when you write and when you siphon things off your brain and you take time for yourself and you start moving in a more natural direction that suits your own life, things just kind of fall into place. Even little things like the reading being the moment of dawn. It's like, really? The moment of dawn? I was reading Rebecca and I decided to do what I did here, recycle. I was like, I think I'm going to recycle that pen and ink video, because the chapter was about, again, the signature of Rebecca, and it was the chapter was all about the writing desk. And like, I couldn't even, if I wanted to plan a video where I took out my glass pen and ink and I read this chapter and tried to get it to all line up just perfectly, it wouldn't have happened, or it would have with a lot of frustration, but it just happened so organically and naturally. And I think that that's what happens when you move to the rhythm of your life. And so that's why the sleeping also resonated so deeply with me. Like, I'm going to stop beating myself up about I have insomnia. Like, I'm only sleeping a couple hours and now I'm getting up, but I'm getting things done. And then I'm going back to sleep and I am getting additional rest. Who said you had to sleep straight through anyway? You know? Um, and then, the phones and all, they're all a disruption to our sleep. Just think about not having street lights and factories and stuff. And of course, they didn't interrupt your sleep. They weren't an obstacle, like light coming in your room. I lived down the street. I said I've been like this from when I was a kid, like just always getting up in the middle of the night. But I lived down the street from a bakery. So the bakery was on the opposite side of the street. I lived on a very small street, and the bakery was only a few doors down. I wasn't even like in the middle of the block. I was towards the end of the street where the bakery was. And when Landolfi's Bakery would start baking bread at midnight, who do you think was up? Hello. I was near the window, looking at the factory, looking at the guys carrying the bread in and out. You could have knocked on the door. They would have sold you a dozen of rolls right out the back, and the smell of the bread. And sometimes, like on the weekend, it would be a treat that we would be up late. Maybe something special was on TV, and you would go to the corner and get bread and have hot bread and butter. So, without a factory, without a bakery on the corner, it wouldn't have been up. So that's why that it just resonated with me. Okay, I'm going to get back to the Book of Awakening. There's a sun in every person. The you we call companion, and that's a saying by Rumi. It is essential to realize and embrace the paradox that while no one can go through your journey for you, you are not alone. Everyone is on the same journey. Everyone shares the same pains, the same confusions, the same fears, which, if put out between us, lose their edges and cut us less. A very touching story from the Talmud captures this soft paradox of how we all journey alone together. A rabbi asks his students, "How do you know the first moment of dawn has arrived?" After a great silence, one pipes up. "When you can tell the difference between a sheep and a dog." The rabbi shakes his head. "No." Another offers, "When you can tell the difference between a fig tree and an olive tree." Again, the rabbi shakes his head. "No." There are no other answers. The rabbi circles their silence and walks between them. You know the first moment of dawn has arrived when you look into the eyes of another human being and see yourself. At the end of every reflection, Mark Nepo gives us something to sit with. You can journal, you can sit and think while you diamond paint. What does this reading mean? What is it saying to me? So sit quietly, continue diamond painting or listening. And as you breathe, bring yourself into your own center. I wouldn't exaggerate the breath too much. I would just breathe naturally, but breathe in through your nose. And if you feel that your body is tense in any way, you could focus on maybe your shoulders, or maybe your eyes are tired, maybe your shoulders are tight, and just breathe through that area and then exhale until you just feel yourself soften. If you're lying down, you can concentrate on whatever contact points of your body are touching the earth or your bed or your chair. And just allow yourself to soften. And breathe your heart open, says Mark Nepo. And try to feel both your aloneness and what you share with every other human being. And there's an array of emotions that we share with everyone else on this planet, being happy, being sad, being celebratory or heartbreak or grief. So many things, so many first times that we share with so many people on this planet. Continue to breathe deeply and slowly, and try not to comprehend this, but to just feel it. And I think that what he is trying to say here is that we can really feel alone in whatever it is that we're going through. And then there's some things that are just, or they feel so rare or unique to us, that maybe sometimes you hear something or you read something. Like I read this fact that I found out today about, this segmented sleep, where I'm like, I feel validated that, I don't have insomnia. This is a concept that you sleep 8 hours straight, but I kind of like that there was a natural rhythm at one point. And so you don't feel so alone or weird, that, why can't I just like, why can't I sleep like John? He hits the pillow and he's like out like a light. And his nickname was Rip, for Rip Van Winkle. And then it took another shape where they started to just call him Ripper. And then it became a verb. His name became like a verb. Like, are you ripping? Like, are you whatever? His friends are so funny. So I think that we all have those moments where we just, for as much as we share with everyone on the planet, there could be times that we feel isolated. And when I saw that also, because was I speaking a little bit about yoga in the beginning? I can't remember, because these things are just, these talks that I have with you are not anything that I've written down and I'm looking at and I can go back and review. They're just really organic. I think I was talking about yoga in the beginning. And so it was also interesting that there was a quote from Rumi. The sun is in every person. The you we call companion. And my interpretation of that is that Rumi is saying that the divine spark, the light, the warmth, the sun is inside of all of us, each of us. And that this was the biggest lesson that I learned in yoga. And it's why some of these readings that from the Book of Awakening that I love so much, like The Treasure Beneath Our Feet, is one that I really like. It's about returning to yourself. Everything that you need is not outside of you. Outside of you just takes so much energy to go searching. And every year I read Gibran's The Prophet, because that's the message there too. The treasure is always beneath your feet. But we spend so much time searching outside for comfort and searching for wisdom and searching for validation or searching for that special someone, when the true companion is with you already. It's you. It's that inner sun that guides us. And if we could just take our own radiance and be warmed by it and let it soothe us, because it's what keeps us alive and keeps us creative. And it's the true part of yourself that knows the truth. You just have to be quiet. You just have to sit with yourself. I have been privileged to teach yoga, to sit with 20 people in my class, to show them a posture, watch them all execute it in a way that is comfortable for them. But I will tell you, the hardest posture is always when you have to sit quietly or lie in Shavasana. It's when I learned so much about my own practice and about how others practice, um, is if they could sit with themselves. You see people become fidgety, or they'll pick at their fingers, or shift in their seat. They can't lay down. They kind of like have like body shakes because things are coming to the surface. But when when you're sitting with yourself and things are arising, right? Your body, your breath. Let's just take your breath coming from deep within your belly, where it's wider in the hips, and then it's coming up through the rib cage, and it starts to get narrow and even more narrow as it comes into the shoulders, and then it comes, up into the throat. Is this vortex of breath circling, whether you're just breathing or you're speaking, and out comes of your mouth, your breath, or if it's your words, it is the words that you are sitting with. Comes up through your seat. Your spinal column is this network of energy that's running up the rails and down the rails. You could think of your spine like a train track. And then it comes up, and then it narrows in the throat and comes out of the mouth. And then there's your truth. If you sit with yourself long enough. And then we fight with ourselves because we don't want to believe what it is that we're actually holding, this thing that we've shined the light on. We've what's the saying? Drag it out into the sunlight. But we have to be able to sit with ourselves and be able to soothe ourselves in our own light, with our own voice, with our own truth. Because it, like I said, it's the part of you that knows your truth, even when your mind doubts. See, the mind can lie. It can. The heart can't. It has a very hard time. And that part that keeps, that knows your truth, it keeps showing up. The mind lies and it forgets, but the heart, that part of you, that sun, it keeps showing up. It shows up in your writing. It shows up in your art. It shows up in your kindness. It shows up in your resilience, in your strength, in your reflection. So when Rumi is saying the you we call companion, he's basically telling you you're never alone. It's your truest friend, is your own inner light. And that light is as ancient and as powerful as the sun itself. It's a reminder to trust yourself, to just sit with yourself. And this is what I love about diamond painting, is that this time that you take to diamond paint, it's such a meditative practice that you get the same benefit. Trust me, I get the same benefit when I diamond paint quietly. Things arise in my mind that I am thinking about. I always have my journal next to me. I'm always jotting things down, whether I know what something is that's coming up or I don't know what it is. I know that it's something that is lingering in my body that I got to address. And people can give you advice, they can offer advice, you can ask for advice, but if it doesn't sit right with you, then you're not going to take it. That you might weigh it, and it's great to have maybe some kind of knowledge that comes from it. But if it doesn't sit right with you, I think there's a reason why we use that term, to sit right, because we need to sit with ourselves. We need to sit with ourselves, and we got to run it by us. And like I hear people say, I'm only speaking my truth. Okay. But I'm speaking the truth. There's only one truth, it's either right or it's wrong. It's not because then it's just like different perspectives. It's just, you're branching off into all different, my truth and your truth are not the same truth, but there's just the truth. So if you sit and something feels true to you, you can enter into your life and into your world confidently and speak and do and act and look at yourself like um, what you're searching for. You when you are able to sit with the truth and move with the truth, then you do comfort yourself because you're not doubting yourself, and you are in, building wisdom with these particular things that you weigh for yourself, and you validate yourself. You're your own. There's nothing like being able to look at yourself and know that you are your life's truest companion, that everything that you're looking for is burning inside of you, so that you can um, find if what you are looking for in other people. I'm not talking about just um, relationships, friendships, business relationships. The people that you surround yourself with really do have an effect on you. There are situations where you just can't um, move away from people, but you can know that if you are acting in truth, that it makes the situation more tolerable, because people that can't, that are looking outside of themselves for validation, and they're looking outside of themselves for companionship, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to all the wrong forces that might be circling them, because the people that are also in that situation, they are weak, and they are unhappy people. They're not a sun, they're a cloud. They're a big rain cloud. Trust me. And even in my life, with everything that I know and all the wisdom that I have, through the years and all the different relationships, whether it's been friendships, or business relationships, something new from me observing always cycles round. But I'm a big observer. I'm really quiet. I observe things, and then I have trained myself. When I was younger, I was more reactive. Now I'm more responsive, and I'm really proud of myself when I could see things going awry and just sit back. But then there's also the part of me that is principled in loyalty and justice and truth and fairness, and it becomes very hard for me to sit still and not speak out. But there's always a time and a place for that, and that also feels very validating, because you don't come from weakness. You come from strength, and that comes from a person that knows themselves, and knows that they can look at their reflection and be proud, because they know themselves very well. They're not relying on other people to build them up or be their rock. You're your own rock. It's something that I really would love to it's a daily practice. You have to come back to yourself on a daily basis, which some of us do when we sit down and we diamond paint. And there are some things that we really need strength for, that like, just look at Rebecca. Like, we're reading Rebecca, so that could be like one of the greatest examples of someone that does not know themselves, does not know their inner light, does not know their sun, does not know their strength. They're not resilient. They're kind to being like almost like a vulnerable of like an animal walking into a trap. But if she were the type to, in all this daydreaming that she does, to start to practice that daydream that she's in of the woman that she wants to be. And it is a practice. It's a practice. You don't get it right all the time. It might take you years, but at least start incorporating it and start practicing. And you can do that every time that you practice. Sometimes it's just, taking a breath and, repeating the same boundary that you have, the same person that keeps crossing that boundary, and just being very, you know, I know what I want from my life, and this is what I want. I want a boundary, and I'm going to just keep repeating it very calmly, and not falling back on my principles. And like, that's, if you're following along with Rebecca, you know what I mean. And the woman is so frazzled that she doesn't even know that she is the current Mrs. De Winter. I hope that you'll join us. If this reading is resonating with you in any way, I hope if you haven't joined us already for Rebecca, you will, because I think it's a perfect example of someone that doesn't know that they have this inner light inside of them, and this inner strength and resiliency, and it's really sitting down. I remember doing this when we were younger in school, when we sat down and we made a hierarchy of what we valued, and we learned about that. Like, sit down with yourself. What is it that you value? And begin, sometimes it's just making it aware, just having an awareness of it. Some people gravitate towards certain things, and they react a certain way, and they don't even realize that what they're getting upset about, or what they're fighting about, is because they value these things in their life. Like me, like I always felt like I was like the justice warrior. There had to be justice for things, and my husband is pretty much the same way. But being that he is such a philosophical warrior, he was able to show me different philosophies and teach me different philosophies, which is why I wish that he would. Maybe we can all get on him, Johnny, start your philosophy channel, please, because we've worked on it. We've worked on it. We've done this from when he was working for the post office, and he said, I want to have this time to do this in my life, to have these readings. I'm like, you don't have to have them all the time. Have them once a month if you want to. Have a meetup once a month. I mean, I think this world is just starving for philosophy and common sense. So I enjoyed today's reading. I always enjoy Mark Nepo. I still don't sit down every single day. I was, but life gets busy. Life gets, the events that we were having, and I really wish I was a little bit more principled with my time when it comes to this part of my life, to be like, get back to myself, get back to my own center. And I really know in my life when I'm starting to like get kind of like punchy and I get a little reactive, I know, like, oh, it's time. You need to go get your book, go get your notebook, go get your pen, go sit down, go read something. And sometimes it's just opening up this book and being guided by whatever reading wants to show itself to me. And they always make sense. I will tell you that right now. They always make sense. And I sit here and I'm like, okay, this was a good one. Or sometimes it's really hard. And I'm like, oh, what are you trying to tell me here? Let me just go to another reading. And I try not to do that. Well, I actually don't do that. I sit there and I am like, what are you trying to tell me? And I will tell you that they are my greatest lessons. And they are the ones that I remember and carry with me. So there is some resistance sometimes to learning something, but I will sit with myself and I will write, even if I said, like, I keep my, oh, there I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm talking to you guys, not for like a brief moment here, but I think what I'm trying to tell you guys here is I'm showing you how far I've gotten, and I've gotten even further. That is all complete. I am going to, there's probably about another minute here. I'm moving everything out of the way to show you guys, but I've turned that around. I haven't started the top yet. I'm going to. But I will give you guys the first look at what Quiet Snow and her little monkey look like. Look like the it's a little goat. I thought it, Capricorn was the astrological sign of Capricorn. Now he could be. I don't know. He looks like the astrological sign of Capricorn, but the astrological sign of Capricorn was a goat and like a fish bottom. So he could have a fish bottom. Who knows? I'm saying he does. That's why this reminds me of my dad. That's another story for another day. But let me give you a full view of what this canvas now looks like. And I will see you tomorrow. We're going to go into chapter 9 of Rebecca. Rebecca, Rebecca, Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca, when will you find your son, Rebecca? Bye, guys.